Hey everyone, welcome to this YouTube tutorial in which I will be showing you how to recreate the B&O website nav menu. I think it's really well made and it's beautifully designed as well. It's got a super smooth fade in animation, and then as you hover over each of the items, you get this cool background transition effect and the image kind of slides in very subtly. I wanted this tutorial to be mostly JavaScript focused, and I've already done a lot of the styling for this. I feel like the styling is fairly self-explanatory, but it's the JavaScript which is how you're able to add such dynamic kind of interaction to the site. In my HTML file, there's a basic markup with a body tag, a header tag. Then we have our nav, which starts here. It's just a simple nav element with a nav wrapper inside, and there is a unordered list with 5 different list items, each of which has an A tag and a span with some text inside. So the menu architecture is not complex at all. And down here we have the image container, which is going to sit on the right hand side of the menu. And inside that we have an image wrap, and then we have our image tag. And then underneath the menu, I have just a basic web page, nothing fancy at all. I'm using CSS for this project just because I find it's much easier to maintain, and it just allows you to nest rules, which makes writing CSS so much easier. When the hamburger is clicked, a class will be added to the nav menu called nav visible. And now we'll move on to the JavaScript. Just to quickly summarize how this is going to work, what I want to do is add an event listener to each of these links, which is going to listen for the mouse over. And then on mouse over, we're going to detect which element has been hovered over. And then we're going to use that to apply colors and images to the markup, depending on which one has been hovered. And then we're going to also have a mouse leave event listener that is going to reset the styling back to its initial styling. Later in the video, I'll talk about how to make a toggle, which is also very simple. So I'm going to create a function called const hover nav link handler, and then I also want to invoke it down here. Within the function, I'm going to create a nav links node array by using document query selector all nav links, and in our index we have all of these A tags have nav links on them, and they also have this data attribute which corresponds to the title. So nav links, and then I'm going to create a hovered link and set it to null. And then I'm also going to create a hovering flag, and which is a boolean, and I'm going to set that to false. So I want to loop over all of my nav links using a for each statement, passing in link as a parameter, and then link add event listener mouse over, and then we can use our pass event into the callback. And now if I just console log the event.target, we should see whatever I hover over being listed. Yes, cool. Great, so that works. We can see here that there's some stuff that we don't want in the console as well. So to make sure we only get the attribute that we want, we're going to add this if statement, if event target has attribute, and then put data nav link as an attribute and is not hovering. Then now we can console log event target. So now we just get the nav links, which is great. That's just what we want. So I want to reassign hovered link to the event.target get attribute data nav link. So this is going to get whatever this is of what we've hovered over. Now that we've got the attribute, I want to use that to determine what color to change the nav to. The way I want to do that is by creating another function within this that gets called, and we pass in the hovered link as a parameter. I'm going to create the function just above, function apply menu color, and then I'm going to have hovered link as a parameter. We need to use that to find a color, and then use that color to apply to the nav. But we don't have any colors yet, so we need to create some kind of data structure that has everything we want on it, and we can just reference that using the hovered link. So I'm going to create an array of objects. Within the first object, we're going to have data nav link, and it's going to have a value of speakers, and then we're going to have a color and image, which we can just use to reference the image that's going to actually load. I'm just going to create the other objects for the rest of the things in the nav menu. So now we have our data structure and we have the colors that we want to get. But first I need to target the nav. So const nav equals document query selector nav, and then let nav color equals null. So I want to use the filter method on the link data to retrieve the color we want from using the hovered link parameter. To do that, I'm going to type nav color equals link data dot filter link as a parameter, and then link dot data nav link equals hovered link. What that's going to do is for each object in link data, it's going to loop over it using the filter method, and then it's going to return any value that has where data nav link is the same as the hovered link. If we console log that, you'll see that we get an array. So in order to access that, we have to pass in the 0 index and then dot color because we want the color property. And now all we need to do is apply it to the nav. So nav dot style dot background color equals nav color. So now we get this really cool transition. The way that is working is we have this transition property set to background color. Whenever that changes, there's just a nice transition with that. So we've applied the menu color. Now we want to change the image. So in order to do that, we'll create another function called toggle image, and again pass in the hovered link to this. I also want to call the function on our mouse leave event without a parameter, and you'll see why in a sec. So I'm going to create a function called toggle image hovered link as a parameter. So I want to target the image container here and also the image element. So const nav image container equals document query selector image container. So const nav image element equals nav image container dot query selector image, and then let nav image equals null. Okay, so the logic for this function is going to be pretty much the same as the other one. So we're going to have an if statement that's checking to see if we have a hovered link. And then it's going to set the nav image to link data.filter link. Actually, I'm just going to copy this line exactly because I'm lazy. But change that last property to image. And then I'm going to target the nav image element dot source equals some template literals image slash and then nav image. Cool. And finally nav image container dot class list add image visible. So now when we hover over one of the elements, we should also get the image that we declared up here, which are stored locally for me. So let's try. Hey, cool. So yeah, that's great. Now it changes color and we get the cool image as well. Cool. And now on the else statement, I'm going to do nav image container class list remove image visible. So now if the function is called without a hovered link parameter, it's going to just reset the image. Cool. When this function's called, we're adding the class list of image visible to the container. We have the image underneath, and then we have this image wrap. As we increase the percentage of this, we have a overflow hidden property. So we're making sure that everything after the percentage is cut off, and then that just slowly animates out. The last thing we need to do is create the menu toggle. So I'm going to remove the nav visible class from here because we no longer need it. And now you'll just see my basic web page with nothing on. I need to create a menu click handler. So const menu click click handler equals function, and we need to target the menu button. So const nav menu button equals document query selector hamburger, because it is a hamburger. Const nav equals document query selector nav. So nav menu button add event listener, and then function if nav.classlist contains nav visible, nav class list remove nav visible, and nav menu button class list remove is active. I'm gonna copy these and else add. Cool, so now we click the nav menu, we get this super nice animation that I've created. And if you look at the nav markup, see it adds the nav class there, which is then changing the width from 0 to 100% and the opacity from 0 to 1. That looks really good. Like, I really like that menu. It's so simple, but it's so effective as well. that's pretty much done now. So we've got this cool menu with these cool animations and image changing. It's pretty sweet. I like it. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this was helpful, and I'll leave a link to a CodePen